Welcome, everybody, to Cake Factory Presents Behind the Lines, episode number 3. Today, I'm here again with Alyssa, and we are going to dive into the dark, dark world of anabolic steroids and how much it's been affecting our community, right? I think more so on the women's side. It's let's be real, athletes. It's not like we don't know that you're taking it. Some of you can't get there naturally, as much as you want to say that you are, but you're not. What I've been seeing, me personally, just through the years and extensive knowledge that I have with dealing with supplementation, is I'm getting more questions about women using the unnormal types of anabolics. You know, I'm used to women taking, let's say, Anavar, right? Mm-hmm. The lighter side of things. That was probably the one thing that I've been used to seeing. And then Primobolan, and now dosages of testosterone.
I'm sure a lot more too.
What do you think about that?
I think with everything is just grows, it's more. Everything's just more. And I think with the bodybuilding industry like blowing up, and again, I think we talked about this last week, it's such a culture of everything now. Like everything now. And I think with women jumping more into bodybuilding, into the divisions, obviously the wellness industry came in a little bit more. It's really catapulted a lot more of the girls taking on this, like, I want to have this muscle on now, like I want to be bigger. And they have adopted this training, this bodybuilding lifestyle, almost kind of keeping up with the guys. But again, that also comes into, I want to do this now and I want to look like this now. So people are pushing the boundaries a little bit more and pushing the envelope more, not really realizing all the extra side effects that are coming into play. They're not really asking the questions, what is this going to do to me later? It's just, oh, I'm just going to take this. And a lot of times too, I think it's a lot on these coaches that are just throwing these protocols at these girls because they want them to look a certain way or get there really fast. And obviously they want them to win. But again, we're not really taking into account it's a woman. A female is not going to be like you guys, and it's you guys take more stuff and you get more manly. It's not we're going to take more stuff and we'll become more womanly. It's going to be a completely polar opposite effect. So I think it's just this whole combination of what we talked about kind of last week of, you know, these coaches not really being educated and putting these girls on all these cycles and these protocols that women should not be on, and especially at these dosages. Or they're not monitoring it either. And I think, again, it kind of is like this all-encompassing thing of it's just ever growing in this sport too, and things are just continually changing, but we're not really keeping up with the health side of it either.
Do you think that with wellness coming up, because I remember in bikini, you know, when you had bikini and physique in the two divisions for women.
Right.
It was only the physique side where I've heard of women even dabbling with testosterone. But they were women bodybuilders.
Right.
You know, they were the division of women that were lifting and competing like men bodybuilders, like the Ronnie Colemans and the Jay Cutlers that are out there, you know. Right. And now with wellness coming out, these women are pretty much bodybuilders from what I'm seeing. And do you think that the wellness divisions kind of set them up to be that way, and these coaches just say, you know what, here's a regimen of tests, here's a regimen of X, Y, and Z, and take this to help you grow, and then we'll see where you're at, instead of eat more food, train harder, slow is fast. Maybe you shouldn't do a show in a year. Maybe you need to do a show in a year and a half, or maybe this is not the year to do your show. I think people are so scared of taking time off, of actually having an off season. Instead, their off season and on seasons are all the same thing.
Well, and I think too, right, with social media, like everybody wants to display the lean side. Like no one wants to be in off season and put on a social media that like, oh, I've gained 15 pounds and I'm not shredded to the bone, because it's probably not as appealing, right? Everyone wants to be lean and look at me and kind of thing like that too, which I'm sure you've kind of noticed.
Well, what's crazy is come on, speaker. A lot of these girls that are, let's say, competing on that level and have taken these supplements, these anabolics, are also jumping into another dark side. The OnlyFans, the sexualization of the sport as well.
Right.
Kind of don't want to see a manly woman. You know what I mean? In that sense. I've seen a lot of women voices change. Hormonal issues occur. A loss of their period. Now, who's truly to blame in that, though? I mean, yes, there's the coach telling them what to take, but everybody is their own. Nobody's forcing the needle in their arm or in their ass.
I think it goes to both, and I think it's on you as the athlete or as the person, you know, is taking these protocols or listening to your coach. You have to kind of do your own due diligence, and you need to actually think about, what is this going to do to me, and ask the questions. Again, I think we're in the society of everything is now. No one's willing to take the time off. No one's willing to take the time to grow or like do things essentially like the right way. We're looking at these girls who, you know, kind of circling back what you're saying with the wellness side, who have come over from Brazil, who this division's already been there for 10 plus years. So we're looking at champs who have been 15 years into the game and being like, I want to look like her right now. And realizing you just started working out, or maybe let's just say you're even 2-3 years into the gym. You're a brand new person in the gym in comparison to people who've been training for 15, 20 plus years. That's complete newbie gains. That's completely just, you should be taking advantage of the fact that you have that status right now. Get your foundation down, train hard, put years into this, so that way you can go into this with the best health in mind too. And again, take into account that if you're a girl, you're going to have a lot of things that are going to change, and it's not going to be a change for the good. Again, men can look more chiseled jawlines. You guys can get just more manly. A woman getting more manly is not going to be the right way to go. And I think that's something that we really need to be more aware of and actually talk about a little bit more, because girls are starting to dabble into higher doses of like these extreme androgenic supplements and compounds. And it is changing their body, and it is changing their structure and their hormones and their DNA to lots of times where it's not going to come back. They're at these high dosages and doing these things that men are doing, that you have now just structurally changed what's happening in your system. And it can be going on for years and years to come.
Well, what I've seen is a lot of these girls that are getting into the anabolic side of things and really testing out these supplements is they're doing it at younger ages, number one. I don't think really a lot of women realize that their prime is closer to their 30s. That's almost like a male hitting his prime in his 18, early 20s.
Right.
They almost become stronger. Actually, they do. Their body tends to develop in a different way.
You're denser. You have quality, sustained muscle. I mean, look at, the Arnold's on right now. Look at the reigning champ. She's in her late 30s, and she looks phenomenal. The top girls are a little bit more seasoned. They've been in this for a long time, and they are like incredible. So it's like you take that, and you're somebody who's 19 years old, 18 years old. I mean, you're fresh out of high school, and you're trying to look like somebody who's been in 20 years.
Well, the sad part about that is that when they start those, like testosterone, even if they start VAR or if they start Primo or anything like on the lower end, as far as what it would have any effects on a anabolic way for women, not realizing that they could, it's almost like giving a man testosterone before he hits puberty, right?
Right.
allow his puberty to kick in first, then let's see where he ends up before we start giving him anything like that.
Right.
Obviously, there are scientific ways to increase it outside of certain things. But again, those are people that are probably already mindset set that they want to become X, Y, and Z in the world of fitness, right? With women, what I've noticed is that they're in their early 20s, late teens. They're starting to take it, not realizing that when they hit 30, because they haven't hit their, maturity yet, or I should say their prime, almost like their puberty yet, right? They could have a really, really, really bad effect to it. And I've been seeing women deal with low estrogen now, not having a sex drive, almost like a man going through his andropausal years, but almost seeing menopause accelerate to a younger age now. And due to the fact that women are taking anabolic steroids.
Very early.
Very early.
Very early. And dosages wise, too.
Yeah. I mean, like, not to name any names, we know quite a few athletes that are currently at under 25 that are on some sort of cycle. And you can see just from the time that they started into the sport to the time they are now, they've definitely created better muscle. They look bigger, right? They may be stronger, but they also look more aged.
More aged, and I would say a little less of the femininity.
Yeah. Jagged jawlines, dealing with hair in places they don't want to deal with, more acne as if they were going backwards. They're back in their teen years where they never had any acne issues, and then all of a sudden now they're dealing with acne. And, one thing that I don't think people realize is, though, is you can take whatever you want to take, whether it be over-counter, prescribed, black market, whatever you're going to take. But if you don't feed that with food, it doesn't matter what you take.
No, there's no magic.
Yeah, it's not going to grow muscle on its own.
No.
Or it's not going to grow you on its own. You need to add the fuel to that. Not realizing that it's like adding an additive to your body, but not adding the main fuel that you need first.
Right.
And the main fuel is going to be food. And I've noticed that a lot of people, men and women, that do take a cycle just think that the cycle's enough. They haven't adjusted their diet. They haven't adjusted their food. They haven't done anything. I've worked with great athletes, from younger age to older ages. My younger age athletes that are men, I've put on very low dosages of certain items. Sometimes it's only test. Sometimes it's only over the counter. But their food goes through the roof. We're, Michael Phelps style.
Yeah.
6,000, 7,000, 8,000 calories.
Your clients' food intake.
Yeah, it's extreme to the extreme. But they can come off of their cycles, do their shows, and still hold everything.
Hold what they've built.
Because it wasn't the drug or it wasn't the additive that got them there. It was the food plus the additive. And it's crazy. I mean, I've taken one of my athletes to 275, hasn't touched anything in 2 years.
Yeah.
He's 250 pounds right now, solid abs, everything.
Yep.
Hasn't touched it, and it's his protocol before and after that was it. But the food was, I mean.
Well, and I think, obviously everyone's going to, if you're going to get to a higher level, you're probably going to dabble. But again, I think that's a big misconception too. And majority of people's mindsets is, I'm just going to take this protocol and I'm going to be here. But they had nothing else in their lives have changed. They haven't actually been on a regimen before. They haven't been serious or dieted or actually kept up with anything. So again, in today's culture, let me just take this magic pill. Let me just take this magic drug and I'm automatically going to get there and it's going to do all the work for me instead of me actually putting in the groundwork and doing everything XYZ first before we sprinkle this in. And that's what I feel like adding the cycles on are extra little sprinkles on top of an already baked cake that you have made. So it's going to give you a little bit extra edge, a little bit extra this. It shouldn't be the encompassing everything is it. Because again, like what you're saying, that whole physique was built off this extra something. And then you take that away and you're probably in reverse and worse off than where you started because nothing else was actually set in stone.
It was like a balloon popped them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why I'm sure during COVID, he saw so many people, they lost like 50 pounds or they were like, dude, what happened to you? Because most people got off cycles that was purely built on cycles. I remember seeing so many people and being like, are you sick? Are you like super, super sick? And again, it was like, I'd seen them in the gym and I'd see people's work ethics. You can tell the ones who are like in there working and the ones who are kind of just whatever. And again, those are the ones that kind of deflate back to a worse position than they were before because now they took that away and they're really not keeping up with any type of workout plan or they're not staying on top of their food or doing all the things that they should be doing. And
well, I think like also I want people to understand like we're not telling anybody, hey, don't take what you want to take. We're just telling you that even with myself and my own clients, with you and your own clients, we can make as many suggestions as we want when it comes to their supplementation on top of their food and their training. But we expect you to do your own diligence to know what exactly you're putting in your own body before you decide to go and do it. Follow me blindly, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, you know, I do expect you to know what you're putting in your body, whether it be from the pre-workout that you take to the multivitamins and all those other things, because there are a lot of things over the counter right now that you can purchase that I think that are just as bad as something that you were to take pharmaceutical on the black market.
I agree.
You know, I mean, like you have pre-workouts right now that have 600, 700 milligrams of caffeine in it.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. And touch base on that. Explain to people why having that high of caffeine in your pre-workouts is not ideal.
Well, caffeine's a vasoconstrictor. It causes the blood to close. That's what it's supposed to design to do. It helps thin the blood out too, right? And when you're when you're lifting, if you're lifting weights and you're not running down the street or trying to do something high intensity as far as aerobic is concerned, you're trying to add more oxygen to the red blood cells, not close them. Right. Now, that's why most pre-workouts that have high amounts of caffeine in them have high amounts of nitric oxides in them, whether it be beta-alanine, niacin, agamatine, L-citrulline, all the things that force blood into oxygen into the red blood cells, right? Well, I look at that and I see caffeine and I see all those things. They're just doing this. That's all they're doing, right? And I don't really find that to be useful in many ways. I usually tell people if they're looking for an energy boost to take their caffeine 30 to 40 minutes prior to their workouts and then take a pump product on its own right before the workout, because that will hit the system right away. Right. Most pump products have niacin in it, which forces the blood to the surface of the skin to flush out the blood, so that you're accepting what the body's what you just gave the body itself. And by doing that, you allow the vasoconstriction from the caffeine to dissipate. Now you're running off the energy that it's supposed to give you, and then you have the pump product to get you through your workout. When I'm working in the supplement industry, the owner of the place that I did, he had his own private label, and he hated when I didn't sell the private label, because the private label itself, had the caffeine, the 400 mgs of caffeine, the pump and everything, but his margins were phenomenal. What I would end up doing was selling a separate caffeine product and a separate pump product. Because there are days when you don't need caffeine. Right. You don't need to take anything caffeinated. But because we're so used to doing that, that's what people do. Right? And then the other thing with pre-workouts, I see people, we're all guilty of it, shotgunning it, dry. I mean, let's be real, guys. The body, it takes time for the body to to process it. When you shotgun anything with caffeine in it, you're only going to feel the caffeine.
Yeah.
And you will feel the caffeine longer than you'll feel the pump product itself. You need that slow but fast effect to the body when it comes to supplementation. And, you know, it's just like with the steroids and women taking steroids or men taking steroids, not understanding that they're just additives. I mean, the definition of supplementation is to put in the blanks from which you are not getting enough, not to be the entire blank.
Right.
So I'm not trying to fill in a whole block of things that you're missing. I'm just trying to fill in one block and allow you to get the rest from other things. And with pre-workouts, you know, people are just so used to being high caffeinated. I mean, you look at some of these things that you buy that are ready-made and you're like, whoa. You know, I don't want to say the names of the products, but, you know, you're just like, whoa. I'm from the old school where they used to have real ephedrine in products before they banned it because people were cooking it up for meth, right? Yes. So, but not realizing that ephedrine was probably one of the best things that they could have ever given to people naturally to help lose body fat, to help increase endurance without the constriction of the blood cells, because ephedrine actually increased your oxygen intake by 20 to 30%, right? It's like pseudoephedrine, right? And then it was just an amazing thing. ECA stack, the original ECA stacks, right? Where you can go buy pure ephedrine over the counter, right? And get your fats and your other body burning stuff, and you had the best body fat burning product ever. And it was really doing it the healthier way. I knew people that were taking ECA stacks and taking ephedrine before they were ever taking Clen. Yeah,
we used to do that.
You know, or taking T3 or any of these really high intensity fat loss products like clenbuterol or T3 or T4. What's sad to me is seeing people who don't compete take clenbuterol.
Like candy. Why do you think that is?
It's like taking semaglutide, Ozempic. You know what I mean? They're really trying to find the fastest way to losing body fat, not realizing. And, you know, like, what was it, the Atkins diet? You know, when that got big, right? Everybody was like on the Atkins diet. Let me not eat carbs forever. And then all of a sudden you realize that your body needs carbs. So the minute you ate carbs, you're just like reverse effect. You became this big balloon, right? Not realizing that you needed the carbs in many ways. It's just a matter of picking which carbs you need, right? When I tell people now, eat white rice, they look at me going, huh? You want me to do what? I'm trying to lose weight. You want me to eat white rice? You know? Well, yeah, because your carbohydrates are designed for fuel. You know, you have essential fats, essential proteins. You don't have essential carbs, you know? So then what I've realized now is that the science should almost take away some fats and give you more carbs. Because I'm noticing that a lot of our foods nowadays, unfortunately just here in this country, are very hormone dosed. So they're affecting people in different ways, in other words.
Well, yeah, I think majority of our food is modified, right? So it's modifying and changing our hormone and our structure from all the, generations up to us. And so, yeah, I think that it's making everything's just kind of making an impact on it as far as right now.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get political, but, you climate activists. We are not running out of food here in the United States. Trust me. We are probably the most abundant food source. We have so much food. It's ridiculous. We're probably the biggest waste.
We're the biggest
Wasteful of food in the world. We waste more food than anything. So, and it's because we produce food on a level that's almost unnatural.
It is unnatural. It's very unnatural. You go to the store, chicken breasts are not supposed to be that big. I was just grocery shopping and grabbed a couple of chicken breasts, and that thing was like the size of a chicken. When does that ever happen before? When did we were growing up and have one serving be like enough for an entire family? One breast.
I mean, I remember seeing rotisserie, rotisserie hens and rotisserie chickens.
Yeah.
They're pretty tiny.
Yeah.
And now those suckers are like,
Now they're like for a
they're
family of 15.
huge. They look like mini turkeys.
They do.
You know, but that's just a lot of the hormones that people put in there. And then you add that on to, let's say, supplements that they buy over the counter, whether it be their pre-workout, their post-workout, all those other things, their proteins, their multivitamins and things like that. And then you add on
Then on the extra toppings.
the extra stuff, like the anabolic side of things, right?
Yeah.
I'm not telling anybody that it's bad, because let's be real, even in the medical world, just up until maybe the 5, 6, 7 years now, testosterone was never really considered to be anything but bad.
Right.
Anything but bad. You hear steroid, you relate that to aggro, somebody just flipping out, getting mad. You relate that to dysfunction, mental instability, all kinds of stuff. And then the medical world really started paying attention to male menopause, andropause, and realizing that, hey, we can use these steroids with the proper monitoring, the proper testing,
Right.
for treatment, just like a woman would have treatment towards menopause. We could use this towards males. Most men experience andropause between the ages of 30 and 40. It used to be later. I'm seeing men now experience it in their 20s, like 25, 26.
Yeah, I would say to older generations, I don't think that they had issues the way we do now. And that's a huge, huge thing, obviously, with our food and everything else around it to begin with, too. But it's definitely like a younger and younger thing. I don't think I ever remember hearing my parents or them talk about, when I was in my 20s, like I had really low testosterone. That wasn't really a thing. I don't think anybody, either one, it wasn't really a thing or wasn't talked about as much, but they didn't have as much chemically grown things as we do now, too, and as much artificial things as we do now in the stores or over the counter. Everything like that is drug. It's drug, or it's injection, or it's hormone, or it's something artificial. So
Do you even think that stuff that are organic, that are being sold in stores, that are truly organic?
Oh, heck no. There's so many ways around all these things. We're organic, we're grass-fed, we're this or that. None of that is true. There's so many bylaws to get passed on how to label things. That's just probably the nastiest thing that you've ever seen, but they're going to put it organic on it.
Well, that's what you should tell people when they bought supplements at the store.
Oh, yeah.
They'd be like, "Oh, what's your best protein?" I go, "Take the label off of all of them. They're all the same."
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they would look at the label, like even from a big company, let's say Dymatize or Optimum Nutrition, and they go, "Oh, this is not FDA approved." The label says it right there. It's not FDA approved. You're right. The product itself by that company, that isolated protein that you want to purchase, is not FDA approved. But the facility from which it was bottled and made is FDA approved. The FDA is not going to go and regulate 500 supplement companies and 100 of their lines of different items and go and regulate every single one of them. They just don't do that. But they can regulate the facilities from which these are all made out of. And there are only so many facilities from which can make these things. And I would just tell them, I'm like, dude, your supplements outside of flavor, the United States does a really good job at making sure that they control that. They have access to all of that. They tell them how much of that they can put in there, how much of this they can put in there, right? And there are people out there who have gone a little bit above and beyond. I remember when Labrada had he had a growth hormone. It was like somatropin or something like that.
I remember that.
And it was real growth hormone.
There's a few companies.
Yeah, it was real growth hormone.
Yeah.
I think they were extracting growth from egg embryos and then mixing it into their products, and it was like real growth. People were really getting in. Back in the 80s, there was this product called Russian Bear, and it was this big jar of vitamins, and the pills were like horse pills, like those big old amino horse pills.
Yeah.
And it had anadrol in it. Now, kids were taking these things and just they looked like they were just
Monsters.
monsters, you know. And it was just supposed to be, you know, increase your appetite, you know, boost your natural testosterone kind of thing, but it had anadrol in it, and people were just getting outrageously big. And now with times and not science, but, you know, technology, they're having more abilities of regulating these things, not realizing that all goes across the board with everything else,
Right.
whether it be a steroid, you know, your supplements or your food. The United States does a very good job at making sure that they have their hand in that regulation. Hence the reason it's why we have the most red tape, you know. But that's why, going back to, like, let's say men taking TRT, you know, I recommend you, if you're over the age of 40, you might want to consider that. You know, if you went through some midlife crisis in your 30s, or going through it now, or you're having a hard time waking up in the morning, and you have a hard time getting it up, or you just feel lethargic, or you're all of a sudden feeling like your wife or your girlfriend during her PMS and can't understand as to why you're having all these emotions that you don't know how to process. And you knew that were there before, but today they're just, whoa.
Just not there.
They're just hitting you in a little different manner. It's because you're experiencing probably andropause at a level that needs to be treated.
Yeah.
You know, and I think women are becoming more, especially women that are in relationships with men that are older and that are heading towards those directions. They're more in tune now with that. I think that's more of something that they're being more acceptive of.
It's not such a taboo anymore.
No. I think in the industry that we're in, it tends to be a taboo, but come on.
Well, I think it's a taboo when it's just there's an excessive, right? And the taboo comes obviously from those extremes too. So have you noticed there's like a lot more of the TRT clinics that are popping up quite a bit too. So I feel like there's like this double side on that, where again, all these 20-year-olds are like, oh, I'm just on TRT. I'm just doing this or that. So it's like, well, you're 20 years old. Are you really doing testosterone therapy, or are you just really just trying to get test?
Well, I mean, like, that's the thing though, is like, again, like, you know, we have a few of those here in San Diego where they go in there, they get tested, they may be more than average, but they're just like, oh, you could take a little bit, get it on the program because it's money. You know, I mean,
well, in reality, isn't that what it all boils down to?
It's down to the money.
It's down to the money.
Well, being 20 plus years in the supplement game and in this industry, I've noticed that in men's testosterone charts, it's become lower and lower and lower. Like the average is getting lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. You know, I mean, I remember there was a time when, you know, mid to high was 800 to 1200.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And right now, mid is like 400 to 600.
Yeah.
And I look at that and go,
like, what's going on?
What?
Yeah.
You know, how did that change? And why is it changing? I think more than anything, nobody questions why it's going down instead of it just being a consistent chart. Then you look at the way culturally society has kind of taken away health and fitness from kids.
Yeah, it's not in any schools anymore.
There's no PE.
PE, recess, and, you know, go out and play sports and play games in schools. Let's throw an iPad at this kid and let's sit him in front of a computer. Or,
well, I mean, I had to run a mile, and I had to have a proper mile time. I had to do X amount of sit-ups and push-ups. I came all the way till I was a senior. I still had to do them, you know. I mean, all through my elementary, I still had to do sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups. You know, I had to run.
Yeah.
Nobody really liked it, but we had to do it, right? And I'm noticing that those things just don't exist unless you're in some sort of extracurricular activity. So then when we don't allow those hormones to be reproduced or used at a consistent level, you kind of see this chart just go lower and lower and lower because we're producing more and more unhealthy people.
Unhealthy individuals, and then they're procreating more and more unhealthy individuals, and it's become a complete dumbed down society too. So I think you take away exercise, what's going on right now, like kids stuck inside all day. We used to, when we were kids, our parents used to have to like wrangle us to come home.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was, like 9 o'clock at night, and they're just trying to run around trying to figure out where we are because we didn't want to be inside. We were out playing with neighbors. We were, playing soccer in our alleyway. We were playing hide and seek with the neighbors' kids, and we were never home. It was outside. So now we have this generation where it's just phones. It's on TikTok. You're on Instagram. You're sitting inside. You're just watching everybody else's stuff. You're not exercising. Your food is terrible. You're not actually getting any sun. You're not getting outside. You're not getting any nutrients. So where do you stem from there? So it's like you're in the society that is crippling you and then giving you the drug to try to normalize it.
You think that society's purposely doing that to make weaker people?
Yeah, I think it's weakening the men too.
I think it's weakening the men the most.
And I think that's the biggest target, is weakening men.
I think there's a lot more soy boys out there than ever.
And not to talk politics or talk about what's going on today, but I've never, even growing up, have heard of so many men or so many people just being there's no backbone at all anymore. There's no men that are, in the old days it was, I would go fight for my country. I'll go die for my country. I grew up in a military family, just the same as you. There was pride and there was honor in defending your family and defending your culture and defending where you grew up and, the freedoms that we are given. There's not any of that anymore. It's, oh my gosh, you offended me. I have feelings about what you just said. And it's just like, what the hell is happening to the society, to the backbone, to, and women are kind of changing in this different direction too, of becoming more like the men's stature too.
Women are becoming more masculine.
They're becoming way more masculine and quite a bit more of the lead. And, so we have all these roles that are completely flipped and flopped around. And you have this whole setup of, all through our schools, all through your daily life. So it's like, what are we trying to create then? Like, what kind of life and what kind of culture are we going towards?
Well, my better half, she sent me this thing that said, a man who gives me, if a man doesn't like a woman with masculine energy, then don't be the man that gives her feminine energy. Because the more feminine energy a man gives a woman, the more masculine energy she's going to produce.
Absolutely.
And that, I really don't think that's what she wants to do either.
No woman, and this is just my opinion, no one wants to stay in a masculine energy. And that, I think, is just something you as a woman have to do to go out in the world and face the world and be in jobs and be a mom, be a protector, be a wife, be a business owner, be somebody who's just trying to earn respect in the world too. But it does put you in like a different masculine energy, and you don't want to come home and have to be in that. Like, that's the last thing I think anyone wants to do. You want to feel protected. You want to feel that, even not even telling your partner, but just like in general in life too, the men that you want to be around or things like that, you want to feel like, I'm going to be protected, I'm going to be valued, I'm going to be listened to.
Right.
And not, I'm going to have to take care of,
well,
I'm going to defend, and I'm going to have to,
going back to women taking gear in our sport, okay? Those women are extremely masculine, no matter how feminine they want to be. And it's funny seeing them take what they take and then ask for a masculine man.
When they're pretty much dominating over the men too. And still sexualizing the sport too, which is an odd combo.
Well, yeah, I don't think girls realize that when you take things like that on a high level for a long periods of time, I mean, you can get away with taking it X amount of time, maybe for one show a year, right? if you're right, if you do your due diligence, you do everything right, you do your ins and your outs, you get your checking, you get your blood work and all that stuff done, consistently done.
Right.
You know, I've seen women who compete at high levels, you know, and who have competed multiple times, who do one show a year, you know, go through a certain cycle, but they maybe take it for the last 6 weeks of their
8 weeks. Mm-hmm.
of their 16-week prep.
Right.
You know, and when I see that, I see, okay, they have a control over that, you know, over that part of what they're dealing with. And then I see girls who do 3-4 shows in a year, and they're kind of just on cycle all year round. I don't think they realize that it doesn't matter if they're taking just VAR on the lighter end of things. Clits are dicks. So you will produce a very large clit that almost looks like a dick.
Like you are having a small penis down there.
And then you see that being sexualized, and I'm like, whose kink is this? You know,
how
like,
did we get to this direction?
Who really likes this? I mean, I don't want to take anything away. I'm not being, you know, I know I'm going to offend people, but at the end of the day, it's just not for me. That's just not me. Okay. You know, I'm back to the old school Hugh Hefner stuff, you know, but it's just different to me. It's just, you know, I love to see a fit woman and have her, you know, muscularity in certain aspects, but I've seen them still be very feminine and not have that side effect of that occurring.
Yeah.
That clit effect.
And here's, you know, put this topper on too, because you and I are both huge advocates of women being strong and muscular and, you know, not taking anything away from that, because that is beautiful and that is still feminine. But even for myself, like, I mean, I love working out. I love training. I love, you know, the wellness division. I love having muscle. But you also have a little bit of a line too of, and this is, again, everyone has a slight different preference, but as far as us, we still always want to cradle the side of staying a little like a woman. Like I think muscles and I think, you know, bodybuilding, I think it is beautiful. And I think it is something that takes a lot of hard work to get to. But I still feel that at the end of the day, you still want to be feminine. And what I mean by that is just, you still want to have that feminine energy towards you. You know, I don't think I or girls really want to walk around and have people be like, is that a small penis in her? Or, you know, what is that, a he, she?
Well,
kind of thing,
I mean,
that, right?
Yeah.
You know, again, everyone's division, each their own, but that's not exactly something that, you know, as a girl, you're like, oh, I'm so excited for that.
I mean, I've seen some women get on stage in their bikinis, and I'm like,
and, you know, again, a lot of that too is, I think, is a lot of misuse of their protocols too. You know, and I think the way you can separate that is, of course, you're going to push boundaries, and you're up at different divisions, different levels, but like kind of what you're coming back to, a lot of these girls stay on year round, and not just like small doses. It's high doses of, you know, this whole plethora of stuff that probably the guys equally take.
well, that's what I don't think a lot of coaches are telling their athletes and telling their people, whether they be men or women. The longer period of time they take it at the high level that they take it for, they will forever have to take it. You know, it's in the, if you live in the East Coast and you're from the East Coast, you never not start your car in the winter. You always have to. And that's the same thing with your body's natural hormones. The ability to restart your natural hormones needs to be consistently helped, even when you're on or off a cycle, especially after coming off of a cycle. You got to remind your body how to restart it.
Again.
You need to restart how to function again, right? Because it's a lot of the things that, whether you're a female taking a testosterone or any other things, you are suppressing your ability to produce what you naturally were producing. I'm not saying that you're stopping the production of it, because there are only so many compounds out there that stop the production of anything, but you are suppressing that ability. And the longer you suppress it, the more it forgets how to function. And if you don't give it that ability to do so, which is the reason as to why they call them cycles, cycling on and off, proper protocol, PCT, post-cycle therapy, coming off of things and allowing your body to regen. But people are so addicted to that feeling, like some people that I know that take tren. They're so addicted to the trend. They're just like, I will never take anything else but this, and you're just like, yeah, you'll never have kids either, dude.
You might not live for another 5 years either.
Yeah, you're destroying yourself internally. And with these women that are taking it at a younger and younger age, I don't think they realize they need to get their engines restarted in order for them to want to have kids later in life. Because as much as the steroids help our sport in many ways, get people to where they want to be, looking the way they want to look, it also takes away from it if you do it wrong. So instead of you looking better, looking like you're going to live longer, you're actually looking better to live shorter.
Yeah. Sadly, yeah.
That's a fact.
You may look fantastic on the outside, but inside, you're an 80-year-old lady.
Yeah, you're just aging faster than the normal person. And it's scary, man. Just it goes back to that whole thing with like our food and society just taking away fitness, and it's crazy because with this boom of fitness, we've seen a big boom in the last few years, most especially during COVID. Right. We saw this big boom. Everybody's competing now. Everybody wants to be a competitor now. Everybody's trying to be a competitor now. With this big boom in it, it's like, what happened to the basics?
Well, as with everything in today's society, basics went out the window because it takes too long. And no one has the patience anymore. And, in Instagram, right? You scroll, you're not going to watch anything over 20 seconds, 30 seconds, because why? Nobody's attention span is there anymore. You're not going to sit and listen to the majority of people, right? Not going to sit and listen to anything for anything longer because I need something else. I'm not stimulated enough. And that's exactly today's, age. Oh, I'm not here quick enough. So let me add more things to it. Let me take more extra this. Let me do this quick pill or this quick whatever because, I really just don't want to take the time and the effort to actually get there on a better path. And I feel like that's such a mentality and spurred so much to, I want to be a competitor, I want to this or that, which is great. And I think it's great to be on stage and have that as a goal. But also that stage is 20 seconds of your life. So you're going to ruin your health and you're going to ruin your future and your, especially women, the ability to have kids and stuff like that for that 20 seconds of short-lived fame that you're going to be on stage. And, I compete, so I get it and I understand and it's a thrill, but you also have to understand the complications and the risks you're taking. And it's always, you want to mitigate those risks. And that's really the bottom line is like, this industry, people are going to take things and, not saying don't, but it always comes down to doing the least to have the most.
Well, slow is fast.
Exactly.
Slow is fast.
Yeah.
I mean, the slower you go, the better your faster results come.
And that's a concept that it's just, I think as a society, most people just don't want to do. It's not cool to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take 2 years off and just grow and eat and train and sleep and get my hormones in check, just get my life in order and actually just cross off all these extra boxes, actually follow my meal plan, for longer than 1 week at a time, 5 days at a time. Oh, and, mess up this, whatever, I'll get back next time. It's a journey and that's why I've got, total life, because it's just something you have to just continually do regardless. And then you sprinkle those little things on, right?
I've been blessed to have, CJ, having him as an athlete, having him as a client. He did one show with, I forgot, I don't want to mention his name, but somebody else.
Right.
Placed second, did great. Wanted to go ahead and do another show because he's already qualifying for nationals. Right. And I was like, let's take a year off and grow. And when he got to me, he was 210 pounds. When we got to the day of prep, he was 275 pounds. 1 year later, a little bit over a year later. But he was at just over 8,500 calories a day.
It's insane. It's just crazy.
Yeah, leading up to prep.
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
And did nationals, ended up placing third. He was off by 1 point for 2 shows. That's phenomenal. Hasn't jumped on stage again. I don't think he wants to. I think his passion's back to where he really wanted to be. He's still an athlete. But I think with CJ, one of the things that really helped him was the fact that he was an athlete prior. I mean, professional baseball player, and then former military. You know, that discipline that he had within him. But the way he looks now, you'd be like, dude, you've been doing this for years. You look like you've been working out as a bodybuilder forever. And I think he's done such a great job of understanding his basis with food, and that everything else that we did and that I had given him for protocol was merely an additive. It wasn't going to create what he wanted to create if he didn't add the food. And he noticed that the most. And having it and being able to deal with that was a blessing, because I got to see truly, you know, not just the science, but how well somebody's genetics play a role in what they're trying to accomplish. And because some people don't have the genetics, they tend to lean more on the additive more than allowing their own natural genetics to eventually catch up with what they're trying to accomplish with their goal.
Yeah.
Right? Some people just will never get there the way that other people do. You know?
Well, I think not in that time frame, right? Somebody might get there 5 years sooner than you get there. You know, genetics definitely play a huge role, but I also think your work ethic plays an even greater role, because somebody can have all the genetics in the world, but they could be training or they can be doing things at a certain level. And if you're somebody that's like, you know, maybe I don't have the best genetics, but my hunger is 100 times more than this guy, I guarantee you're going to get there. You know, maybe not in the same time frame, but you will get there.
Yeah, it took me 8 years to break 200 pounds.
Well, yeah.
It took me a long time to break 200 pounds. And that was a whole lot of food and a whole lot of dum-dum science that I had to trial and error. And I think the difference now with me now is that I'd rather be preventative than reparative with people. So I'd rather give you all the preventative measures instead of you coming to me trying to figure out how to repair you and bring you back to normal. Because that's the worst. Because sometimes you can't change the effects that some of these people have been given in protocol or in cycles.
Well, and not only that, like mental health wise too, gets completely obliterated. And I think that's a huge thing that, you know, we don't talk about with women and men and this stuff too, is the effects of your mental health with all of the cycles, all this and that, your relationships, just your communication with people, just how you are on a day-to-day basis. That's a huge effect it has.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because, you know, steroid had that stigma of, you know, men going aggro. You're going to, you know, they're going to. Yeah, I remember dealing with, at the nutrition store, I would sell like a pro hormone, right? And sell somebody a stack or a natural testosterone, and the girlfriend or the wife is, he's going to beat me, you know? And I'm like, well, does he beat you now?
Yeah.
Because if he beats you now, it doesn't matter what I give him.
Yeah.
It's either going to increase it, but it's not going to decrease it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what I'm seeing now, because it's been more accepted on the feminine aspect of things, I'm like seeing chicks get aggro.
Well, yeah, they're, like I said, it's flipping the role.
Like aggro, like, you know, I hit andropause in my 40s, and dang, now I know what it feels like to you girls riding that red dragon. You know, with women, you give them a little bit of the opposite end, and they're like an 18-year-old kid and boy on puberty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
First time he's ever seen a female.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So do you think that has added to even more of like the sexualization happening going on now too.
Well, I don't really think well, my opinion on that is pretty intense. And the reason why I say that is because I don't think a lot of women realize y'all have expiration dates. Men don't. I'm not trying to be in any way say that I'm better in any way, but women have expiration dates. Men don't. You can excel as much as you want on your body and sexualize yourself as long as you can, right? Mm-hmm. But eventually that expiration date's going to come up. Mm-hmm. Men don't. We tend to get better through age, mm-hmm. right? And that's one thing that I love about certain women that are boss women. Like, I have a boss woman. She's great at being a boss at what she does.
Yeah, she's a businesswoman.
Yeah, but when that energy's done, she's a woman. Mm-hmm. Just like with yourself. Yeah. You're a boss lady when we're in the factory, and when you don't need to be, you don't need to be. It's not something that's turned on all the time. No. And unfortunately, nowadays with the sexualization, most especially within our sport, women just think, I can get away with it. Well, not only that, they just feel like they have more options. Yeah. Well, let's be real. How many women do you know that are your friends right now that are single, right? That want a certain type of man, that all of them want the same man?
Yeah, I think everybody.
Okay, so then y'all are swimming in a pool like that big?
Yep.
And not any one of you can get your feet in that pool because there's so many women looking for the same dude. It's not like I wake up in the morning and my DMs are flooded. I can guarantee you every female, no matter what level of 1 through 10 you think they are, they're waking up with DMs. You know what I mean? Like, they're getting hit up all the time. That's just the way that society has worked currently, most especially with social media. Yeah. Back in the day, if I wanted to talk to a girl, I had to physically walk up to her, get the courage, and face the denial face to face, not some red button or somebody not even responding to me.
But also back in the day, you had to court somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, you actually had to go up and talk to people. And it was like, if, a girl showed interest, or if a girl even showed you anything of herself, that was a huge thing. Now it's just, that's just everywhere, and my parents always say, like, you don't need to buy the cow. You already got the milk for free. Like, all, and that's kind of where it is right now too. So yeah, it's all these girls looking at wanting the same. They're all looking for the good man. They're all looking for the man to support them, but they're all in the same bubble of exposing yourself completely too. So again, kind of what you were saying is like, yeah, women have an expiration date, which, I agree. I think women push as much as you can when you look as great as you can. And then it kind of gets to a point and you're like, oh, well, why are the guys looking at, a little bit younger and this or that? It's kind of human nature. But I think today's world has become overly done. Our sport's already sexualized because we're showing our bodies. It's, we're displaying, we're on stage like half naked. So it already is like a sexualized sport. But with social media and all these extra entities, it's even gone to like even more of an extreme.
Well, it's crazy is I've been seeing athletes that are females post their photos of them, let's say their journey during their prep, like they'll be in their bikini and things like that, and they'll get flagged. Yeah. Versus the girl like literally showing a see-through top and see-through bottom, promoting her OnlyFans page, and it's getting like X amount of hits here and there, and I'm like, whoa, where's I guess that line that social media is going to accept. Reality of the fact is I take more honor in the girl who's taken her body from, X here to here, wearing that bikini and showing herself than the girl who's just
thirst trapping it
every day. Yeah. Well, I mean, we do know somebody who's thirst trapping our sport and used it. A lot of people. Yeah.
Which is, and you and I talk about this and, my opinion on a lot of this stuff. And here's my thing. And, not to take away women who feel comfortable in their skin and feel feminine, feel, beautiful at whatever stage you're at. Cause that's, I applaud you guys and that's wonderful. But, as a woman and you're in this industry and you're in this business and you see all of this get more applaud and more, almost, I guess I can't really say respect, but it's more admiration or just more acknowledgement, than the women who are walking a little bit more of the straight line. It gets kind of frustrating. And I've talked about this before, and I didn't say anything, but even in old business ventures and past ones recently of mine, I got ridiculed like crazy because there were certain behaviors I didn't want to allow. There's certain things like I didn't want to have represent what we were trying to create. And ironically, like I got, told every name in the book and called whatever because I was, trying to shut it down and stuff like that.
I just don't think that people nowadays, when people open a gym, like we have a couple of them here in San Diego, it's almost like they want that gym to be a gym that has all these athletes in it. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. That have all these athletes in it. Not taking anything away from you athletes or anything like that, but y'all are some of the cheapest people. I mean, give me the 9-to-5er. Give me the person who just regularly just wants to live a healthier life. Yeah. And those people tend to, back in the day, it was like when they saw a gym, like certain 24-hour fitnesses back in the day before all these other gyms popped up. I mean, like even TG, before it was TG, it was Worlds, right? I never went into Worlds for the longest time because I thought it was only for bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of people thought that.
If you could only go in there if your life was to jump on stage.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was just a regular gym, right? And that's kind of one of the things that people tend to fear. Like the soccer mom or the average person who's just trying to get healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They feel intimidated by seeing these gyms with all these athletes in it. And then you see some of these women and you hear their conversations and they're like, whoa, they're taking what? They're doing what?
Yeah.
Why are they? And then their head starts to spin and go, well, maybe I should take that, or maybe I should try that, or maybe I should do that, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the way social media is too. I mean, you see all these girls like Kim and Kylie and all these other people that are on Ozempic, and they've lost all this weight, but they look like they're sick.
They look malnourished.
They look
very malnourished.
Yeah, that's great. Good job. You lost all this weight.
And we're
but
idolizing that, and that's what's...
Okay, what I don't get is if you make that much money and you're that wealthy and you can pay for certain things, then you should be able to eat healthy.
You should have, if you're that much money, you should have a chef follow your ass around. You have a trainer follow you every damn day.
Even if they didn't want to, let's say, train all the time, right? But they can still literally eat good 10 times healthier than you and I could ever.
Oh, absolutely.
On a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Like they could eat like a steak or, a well-coursed meal, a fine dining meal that's healthy that you and I could never really consistently get, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just one of the things like I really applaud some of these men influencers out there that are wealthy, like a Dan Brazilian or something like that, who, like Joe Rogan, who are so into fitness, their health, they make good money, and they still, their family, their wife, their kids, all their other stuff, and you look at them and you're like, wow,
yeah,
you got your shit together, man. Fuck, and I don't have as much time, and I know you have a lot less time than I do, but you still get it done, and I look at that and I'm going, God, Chris, you're behind the ball. And it's just one of those things.
Who like never stops too. So just put that out there.
I stop.
No, you stop to sit here.
I stop to eat.
Well, you stop to eat and sit here. That's about the only stops you get.
Yeah, but I mean, I have been working out up until this past week, but I have been working out not as much as I should, but I have been, which is good. I feel good. I feel a lot better, I'll tell you that. I definitely do feel my age kicking in big time more. When you wake up in the morning and it's cold and you turn your feet to the edge of the bed and you sit at the edge of the bed and you're like, okay, give me a second before I stand
before
up.
I stand up and start this entire day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you hear
The cracks happen.
cracks happen.
When you get out of the bed,
you know. But I mean, the great thing being Filipino is looking young, so I can get them young. But it has become something more and more that I want to pay more attention to. Is definitely paying, and I think more than anything is more my internal health than my external health. Even now at my age, being as big as I am, I'm not even at my age and my height. I'm not supposed to be this big. It's still a lot of weight that I'm carrying because I am fairly dense too. So
you've been working out all your life,
yeah.
so that kind of stays with you.
Well, and I've also done everything that we're talking about, guys. Don't act like I haven't. I'm speaking on it because I've been there.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want a lot of you to be making those mistakes that I have made through trial and error. Hence the reason as to why back in the day, I used to have influences of certain people that I don't want to say I call coaches or anything like that, but I would just blindly follow because I wanted to be like them.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrestled 102 and 112. Now imagine how tiny I was. Just to get to 200 pounds took me 8 years, you know, and that was me trying every over-the-counter possible thing I could get, right, to non-over-the-counter thing that I can possibly get, to realizing just eat more food.
Yeah. It's back to basics.
Yeah, and it was eating the food is probably harder than doing anything else. Was eating the food.
Sometimes it's a job. We were trying to do that for me for a while too. And I was in everybody going like, "Cris got food again? You guys got food again?" It's like every couple hours.
You gotta eat.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when I was spending just as much in rent as I was in food.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
If not more, because I was cooking and eating so much food.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth it. And, you know, I've got to experience it all. Hence the reason as to why I like speaking on it now is because I really do hate seeing people that are being coached, that are being advised by a lot of these professionals.
Yeah.
You know, by a lot of people who've jumped on an Olympian stage, who have gotten their pro card, you know, who have great genetics, who didn't have great genetics, that aren't really following through in the rule of health and fitness. Yeah. You know, and it's great to get people to their goals, but dude, like, if you're in your late 20s, early 20s, and you're a female and you want to touch the anabolic side, my suggestion is to tap out your natural tank as much as you can.
Yeah.
See how far you can go naturally. Yeah. And if you're not going to go that route, find that borderline of things that you can take over the counter that don't tap into your anabolic side yet. Because there are things that you can purchase over the counter, like a SARM, you know, certain boosters out there over the counter, whether you go to GNC or any of these other places, you know, peptides that you can take that'll, you know, make your natural engine run at a higher and faster level. That's not necessarily good, but at least you're not suppressing anything.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, I don't think it's unfortunate because society nowadays, a lot of women don't want to have kids. They don't want to, you know, create a generation of the next, right?
I noticed that. Yes.
Our population rate's gone down quite a bit. You know, I think it's like 1.6 in order for our society to function on a proper manner. And from what I understand, and this is from Dr. Phil's book, which I recently listened to, our population rate right now has dropped to a 1.6. And in order for our current infrastructure that we have currently to function for the next generation, we need to be at 2.7. So that means, in his book, that if it continues down this path, we'll see it, I don't know, what was it called? Like a demolishing of our infrastructure almost. Like it starts to crumble. Things just start to go disarray and things like that. You know what I mean? And I think that's where, if we don't properly educate people and tell them exactly what they should be taking and why they're taking these things, Those who do want to have kids and do want to do certain things, they kind of just put themselves in a situation where they can't.
Yeah.
Whether they be male or female.
Yep.
And it sucks.
It sucks because it could be prevented.
Oh yeah.
There could be so many things that have been said or done or advised to it not lead to that direction. And the sad part is like you spend later years spending all of the money to try to get back what you should have done a long time ago.
Yeah.
And optimized a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's the whole healthcare system too, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just don't want people thinking like, oh, we're just bashing on people who are taking anabolics.
No,
I mean, at the end of the day, these are things and stories that we are speaking of on our own experiences as well. But we also want people to understand that you can have the best coach, gotten you to the farthest and reaching all your goals and wherever you want. But do your own due diligence.
Yeah.
Like, do your own research. Go Google everything that you're putting in your body. And take whatever we say or they say with a grain of salt. But it's almost like a self-diagnosing people.
Educate yourself.
Yeah, just educate yourself.
Educate yourself. Understand things a little bit. Ask the questions. Because in reality, this is your life. This is your body. And this is going to be your consequences you're going to have to live with. Not somebody else. It's going to be you. So do what you need to do to understand what's going to happen in your own body. And listen to your body. Be more aware of things that are going on, and don't just blindly, oh, this is whatever, it's fine. Start listening to what it's telling you, because it's going to tell you things. You just actually have to pay attention.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, you and I both seeing people at younger ages nowadays just really wanting to get into this health and fitness scene and wanting to jump on stage or be some sort of influencer on social media. And their looks are super important to it and how they perceive themselves to be. But we don't want you all to just be physically in shape. We want you to be internally in shape, mentally in shape as well. Because a lot of these things that you guys will take and are going to take or will take are going to affect you mentally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, just pay attention to those things, and do your own due diligence.
Yeah.
Learn to research things, learn about it, Google everything. Don't be if you're afraid to talk to your coach about what you're taking, you might want to rethink who your coach is.
Yeah.
If you have fear speaking to your coach about what they're giving you, you might want to rethink who your coach is.
Yeah, that should be an open line.
That's absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely, and don't speak on everything you feel.
Yeah.
Everything you feel, speak on it, and just ask questions. Right?
Yeah. Take charge of your life.
And that's it. I mean, today we just really wanted to tap into that, guys. Because we're seeing it more. I mean, I saw a 19-year-old chick taking testosterone. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that is prevalently like way more than I've ever seen. And definitely, as somebody who's been in this industry for a long time too, I feel like it's our duty and it's something, our responsibility to advise or at least educate people a little bit more on for themselves to educate, because I don't want to see girls go through a bunch of stuff that I've seen, or even some of the experiences I've went through. Like I don't want people to go through that. That's something that could have been avoided if things were explained. And again, on my part too, and learning more and realizing that you should listen to your, that little internal thing too. Read, educate yourself, and just try to do things the best route.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure our comments are going to be kind of good and bad. But I mean, at the end of the day, guys, if you do have something to say, if you do have something to challenge us with, I mean, leave a comment, leave a question. Yeah. One of us will get back to you. We'll definitely answer you. Don't be afraid to even, kind of send us a private message.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, hey, what do you guys think? We do know quite a few people. We have a big network of people that we can refer you to, whether you want to get blood work done, you're looking into proper sites to look at for maybe things that you're taking. Leave us a comment. Don't be afraid to do that. So,
Absolutely.
we have a few more episodes that we're going to be recording in the next couple weeks. I know we're going to be bringing on some of our own clients
Yeah.
for testimonials. So look forward to that. So we're going to be bringing on non-athletes to just kind of talk about their own journey in fitness and health as well.
Yep.
Okay. So look forward to that. Thank you again for joining us, myself and Alyssa. And don't forget, hit subscribe, leave a like.
Yep.
If you got something to say, I don't care. Leave it in the comments. All right? I'm just kidding. Check you guys out later.